Welcome to another episode of Unleashing the Future of Work, a guide podcast, live and direct on all your favorite channels, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Twitter. Let us know if you're tuning in. Comment below and we'll show you some love and shout you out. I hope you are staying safe and you are doing well wherever you're tuning in from and watching today's episode. I'm really excited about today's episode because I'm going to get to chat with someone that is a phenomenal leader, product leader, as well as just a great human being, Jim. He is a co-founder of ProductPlan. For over 15 years, he's taken software products from concept to successful market launch. Jim Semick is previously the person who was part of the founding team at AppFolio and helped validate and launch GoToMeeting. You probably heard of it. You've probably been using it during this pandemic. Go to my PC, which is really, really cool, and go to Webinar. He's passionate about building great products. Jim speaks and writes about product management, business models, entrepreneurship, and how to take software from idea, from concept to reality in months or however fast you want to go. I'm really excited to talk with him because he's a wealth of knowledge when it comes to product leadership and product management. And once again, we're going to dive deep on his background, his story, and also how he ended up building ProductPlan, which is an amazing, successful venture. With that said, if you are going to enjoy today's episode, please share it with your network. All right, let's make sure we show ProductPlan some love. Definitely check it out as well. But share it with your network. It's going to be an amazing episode with a phenomenal guy. Without further ado, let me bring Jim onto the show. Hey, Jim.
Hey, Tim. Thanks for having me today.
Oh, man, thanks for making time, man. This is always my favorite part of the day, doing these amazing podcasts with amazing people. Jim, I would love for you to share a little bit more about, your background and where you're tuning in from.
Sure, absolutely. I'm coming from Santa Barbara, California, and that's where ProductPlan is headquartered.
Wow.
ProductPlan is B2B software, and we help product managers and product teams develop their plan for how they're going to deliver the software and be able to communicate the progress on the software. So we help align strategy within companies like Spotify and companies like that who use our software to help plan their software. And so I'm happy to talk about that story and how we got started. And I've been in software about 20 years now and got my start actually over at Microsoft, helping launch Microsoft Network and some of those products related to that. And then moved from Seattle down to Santa Barbara and then got started in the tech scene here in Santa Barbara and have been really fortunate to be a part of some of the earliest SaaS products that were available, including you mentioned Go to My PC and GoToMeeting, and really proud of
the classics.
Yeah.
Let me ask you, man, what, how did you get started in product management, man? Because I think, I talk to a lot of product managers. You and I, we love product. And, they always ask, like, I don't know how to get in. I'm inspiring. I think it's super interesting, but I just don't know what doors will open up for me. So for you, man, what was that? Like, did you just fall into it? Huh? And now that you built the product plan, you've been building for 7 years, you really are someone that loves product, right? So like, it's a craft for you. But how did you get into it, man?
Yeah, I've had the opportunity to speak with hundreds of product managers because we sell our product to product managers. And it's surprising, their story is so similar to mine, which is we fell into it.
Yeah.
There's not really there's not a formal education around product management. The career trajectory it's not something that you typically get started in at a ground level and then work your way up. Most people fall into it, and that's what happened in my case. I was working for a software company in Santa Barbara here. We were a startup. The first product that we launched was actually failing, and we didn't know what exactly to do. So someone at the company, the founder of the company, had an idea for what to do with that software. And because we had burned through a lot of the venture capital that we had, we only had one chance to do it again and do it again right. And so that's when I was brought in to the team and asked this question: if we build this idea, will it succeed? Yeah. And so we wanted to know great certainty, not absolute certainty, but with greater certainty that we would, if we spent money on this thing and launched this product, that it would be successful. And so I did what we called market validation. And before we built the product, talked with potential customers. And this is something that a lot of companies don't do. They get excited about a product, they start building the product, and then they try to launch it in the market only to find that people aren't really that interested. And so that's how I got my start. I started interviewing customers, and then wrote the product requirements for this product that we were validating, and then that was go to my PC. And PC turned out to just do really well. And this was at the time, for those of your audience who don't know what Go to My PC is, it's a way of tunneling back to another computer in order to view the contents and view the screen of another computer, which
that's crazy.
It seems a little archaic now, given everything we do, but at the time it was
like teleporting between computers.
Yeah, what a concept. So that's how I got my start, and then realized that I loved product management. I loved figuring out what features do you build? What's the minimum viable product? Who are the customers? How do you price a product? And all of those elements of product management. And I haven't turned back. I tell people, product management really is one of the best jobs on the planet.
Yeah, man, you're always learning, man. Similar to you, I love it because of that. So I want to ask you, ProductPlan is one of the most successful products out there for product managers in the world. You know, what inspired that, and how did you go about building this team? Because, you know, we have a lot of entrepreneurs and self-starters in our guide community who want to build something similar to a product plan, but they, you know, they may not be product managers, and they may not have that inspiration or that clarity the same way you did. So I would love for you to kind of walk us through the process of how did you assemble a team, build a company, man? Because it's a lot of work.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. It's a lot of risk too.
It's a lot of risk.
After having gone through all of this, the advice that I would give is don't hold back. Go ahead and do it. There's nothing like right now no time like the present time to launch an idea and to begin to learn. So my story is that I worked for other startups and learned how to build products that way. So I learned basically on other people's money how to build successful products, and that was invaluable. And so by the time it came for me to decide, okay, I'm gonna launch my own product, and I'd been wanting to build my own product for a while. I felt confident. I had seen other people do it. I had really seen how I had been behind the scenes. I had witnessed all of the decisions that go into making a company and all of the risks, and decided that the time was right for me to do that. And that was back in about 2011, 2012, and had the luxury of being able to, with my experience with market validation, to be able to consult. So I was able to start consulting and at the same time beginning the ideation stage of what that I would want to launch. And then along the way, I met, I knew my co-founder ahead of time, but we got together and started talking and realized that we wanted to launch something together. And then we sat down and we said, well, what kind of business do we want? What kind of company do we want to have? What kind of culture do we want to build? How big is this company? And then we, in a sense, reverse engineered ideas to kind of fit that model. So we spent time together, you know, hiking, paddleboarding, drinking beer, just talking about what do we want? What do we want out of life and out of a company, and then had a lot of great ideas, and we almost launched something that was completely different from ProductPlan. Yeah, we actually almost launched a company in the home healthcare software space.
Oh, which would be huge right now.
We recognized the opportunity. And then we got to the point where we said, this is a huge opportunity. We validated a market. So we know that people will, if we built something, people will buy it. But then we were missing this essential element, which was passion. We looked at each other and said, you know, is this a market for us that we're passionate about for the long term. Because you know this, you can get really excited about an idea and really get motivated and get other people inspired by that idea. But a software startup takes a long time.
And it takes time, man.
It's hard. You need, if you're going to go through those dips, the inevitable dips that'll happen a year, 2 years in, you need more passion to power you through that. And so we looked at that market and we said, are we really passionate about that idea? And the answer was no. And so we stepped back from that and we validated some other ideas. And both of us have a product background. So my partner, Greg, was a founder of another software company, and he was taking some time off, and we both had this product experience. And so we started contacting product managers that we knew, and started asking them questions about, tell us about a day in your life. What are your problems? And we originally had some ideas around that, ideas around helping other product managers interview their customers and track those interviews. And so we started pitching that idea and heard back from them that it's an interesting idea, but their real problem was in creating product roadmaps. So they had a problem in deciding what to build, in building their product roadmap, sharing their product roadmap, in getting all of their executives and the other people aligned. Exactly. Yeah. That was the bigger problem. And so we started hearing that and said, oh, okay, that sounds good. And then we flipped that and said, what if we build a product roadmap software solution that does this and this and this? Would you buy it? And people said yes. And so that was the start. And then we did a lot of interviews before we started coding. We actually launched a website that, before we actually had a product, and said, sign up for this free preview of this product. So we had, the value proposition lined out, and a quote from one of the interviews that we had done about, what our product would do for them. And we started, and we ran a Google AdWords and a LinkedIn campaign, and spent less than $1,000 validating this idea.
Wow.
And collected this list of potential customers, and people would put in their business email address, and then we started calling them, and we said, thank you so much, and this is what we're planning to build, and we'd love to hear your insights. We'd love to get your opinion about this. And several of those people became our early beta customers, and then they were actually the first customers to buy. So
that's huge.
Yeah, and we got to market relatively quickly on not a lot of money, and we're bootstrapped. Even to this day, we're still bootstrapped. So we didn't take venture capital. We didn't take outside capital.
And I think because you guys validated over time, continuous validation, and you didn't need to. And what I love about that too, Jim, is the fact that, I think it paints a perfect picture of how you don't need a lot of VC capital to have a sustainable business. You want to have the right partners, definitely bring them to the table, but you really have to think about how you validating with actual customers over time. And I absolutely love that philosophy. I want to show love to our amazing viewers, man, because they've been loving what you've been saying. Kimberly is saying, what's up, Tim? What's up, Jim? Hey, Kim, for tuning in. Olushay is saying, this is great. She's absolutely loving what you're dishing out, man. Jerry's saying, unrelated, but he's noticing that Jim is a great storyteller, and he's just daydreaming right now on the stories that you're telling, bro. Thomas saying, this is super helpful. He's learning a bunch just from watching this episode. Also, Pablo is saying, what's up, guys? Will this be available later? Pablo, absolutely. It will be a live recording that you can watch later on LinkedIn. But Jim, I just absolutely love this story, man.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. And I am really proud of what we built. Yeah. And I want to say that there haven't been mistakes along the way. And there are things that I would have done differently in the beginning. But the things that we did in the beginning have served us well. The idea of validating with customers, the idea of building the minimum viable product, which I think is really key. You want to be able to solve one or two problems really well. And when you do that, people are willing to pay you for it. So you don't have a great idea. You don't need to build the whole thing in order to give customers value. And that's really what you're looking for, is to solve a problem, solve it really well, and people will give you their credit card for that.
People will pay you for that. That is what is continuous validation. So, let me ask you, Jim, what are 3 things, and because Product Plan, you all are a remote organization, right?
Well, we had about a third of our workforce remote before the pandemic.
Yeah.
And so that made the transition to fully distributed really easy for us.
Yeah.
So just one day in March, we'd all just grabbed our laptops and headed back to our home offices. And because we had a lot of our engineers, especially, were already remote, we already had that as part of the culture. So we had systems in place. We had the way of communicating in place for a distributed work. And so that made it really easy. So as of today, we're officially distributed. And I think going forward, we'll have more people working remote. There will be a day when people go back to the office, but I think it's going to be different. I think it's going to be kind of a hybrid where maybe people come to the office for brainstorming sessions. We have great office space in a cool part of town, and so I don't want to forego that. But I want to make sure that people feel comfortable going in and use the office for its highest purpose, which is
creating.
For creative. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You can get together, look at each other, brainstorm, you get together on whiteboards, socially distanced for a while and be creative that way. And I think that's an important, it's an important thing for an organization to have that in addition to the flexibility of remote work.
I love that, man, because one of the things I've been thinking about for us again is that when I go back to Oakland, I want us to have a creative studio in Oakland, and that's where we'll have like our core design and some people. And even now, with the way we're set up, we don't even our engineers. My CTO, he's in Seattle, and then we're working with engineers in India. The future of distributed engineering is a real thing. And engineers don't even want to be on site. They want to be operating in the cloud, leave them alone, let them focus. They actually appreciate that. But for like the more creative elements, like with your design team, your UX team, or your product team, you do kind of want them more close to the hub. So there's a lot of alignment, there's a lot of synergies there. So I love that philosophy, Jim. So Mobilogy is saying, I like the insight to getting started with product. He really appreciates you for sharing that. Thank you so much. Justina, Mobilogy, anyone, if you have any questions for Jim around product or more about Product Plan and how their culture is designed and set up, please feel free to ask in the comments below. So, I want to ask you, Jim, what makes the culture of Product Plan so special? Because you mentioned earlier that you and your co-founder, you all really thought about it, right, from the start. What are those unique things about Product Plan that, just makes everyone want to work there?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think that it started in the very beginning. Greg, my co-founder, and I are we have a lot of similarities in the things that we find to be valuable and the things that we find important. So human connection, doing right, having a service culture, having balance in our lives. And I think the fact that we're both a little bit older, and we've had successes in our lives. We have kids, and it's that kind of made it so that we were focused on working with similar people. And people that wanted to have a great work-life balance. That was important to us, right? So in the early days, we built that into the culture. So we have we have regular outdoor days. In fact, today is a health day. So we've made the choice, given everything that's going on with all of the with COVID, with all of the unrest, people are just tired. They're emotionally stretched right now, and so we wanted to give an opportunity for people to have a health day. And so everyone is expected to take the day off today. And we're recording this on a Friday, and so we made the decision as a management team a couple of weeks ago to do this. And that's the kind of culture that we built, where people are okay doing it. People are okay taking the time off. People are okay taking paid time off and going on a vacation, because we feel that it's really important to recharge your batteries. If you're working 60 70-hour weeks consistently. Not to say that we don't work hard. And there are times when, especially towards the end of the month or a release is getting ready that has an important feature in it, you really have to put your foot down and people need to work really hard. But you can't do that consistently, and people need a chance to charge their batteries. So that's why we do things like these outdoor days or these health days. We have weekly yoga that people can participate in. Now that's move remote.
It's virtual now. Virtual yoga day.
Yeah, exactly. And not everybody participates in it, and it's not something that we force people to do. But that's the sort of culture that we've built up. We also have some, I think, really special traditions that we started from the very early days. One day, when there were only 3 of us, we said, let's have sashimi today. So we went and got some fish and we made sashimi in the office. And a few months ago, we had everybody in from all over the country, in for a week of team meetings, and we served sashimi to almost 50 people. And my co-founders are sashimi slicer. And
wow!
for a couple of hours slicing fish. So we have these little, I guess, traditions that are really special to us, and we've been really lucky to be able to. Because even at 50 people, we're still a small team, and we're able to keep those traditions alive, and hire people who really appreciate that sort of that work-life balance. So in terms of culture, that's what we've brought in. We hire people that have an entrepreneurial bent to themselves, people that maybe one day want to start their own thing. And that's okay. I look at, I will be happy if someone comes into ProductPlan, works with us for a few years, gets inspired, and then goes off and does their own thing.
And learn how to build a product.
Exactly. Yeah. And they're working with product managers from amazing companies. And they're, especially on our customer success team, they work with, helping to onboard our product to help their product managers learn how to build better products.
Wow, man. The double innuendo. I love it.
It's so poetic, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I think I love how, you all had really your principles and values figured out as a duo and as co-founders. And, I think a lot of organizations, they lose their way over time, but you guys have been sustaining for over 7 years now because there's been core principles to how you all behave as an organization and as product teams and different divisions. And I think, that mindset is missing in a lot of company cultures today. And it's why you see a lot of companies that can't last the test of time. Right, because there's not core principles. But I think it just touches on the power of product, right? Because a successful product is one that has really core principles tied to it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that for those that are building a product, understanding what your vision is for the product and what your product is not, I think that's an important concept. And the same thing goes with your culture. We know what we are not, and I think that's really important for founders to understand that. And if you have a co-founder, it is like a marriage. You really do need alignment on where you're headed, not only values, but where you're going, and have alignment.
Yeah.
If one person on the team says, I really want to keep this company small, and the other person says, I want to IPO. Well, you have a disconnect right there. And
That's true.
So I think that's really important to have that, both from a product standpoint and from a business standpoint.
I love that, man. That's something I always advocate for, that ruthless prioritization and alignment. So Linda is saying, hi, this is really insightful. How do I break into product management as a new immigrant to Canada? I have project management experience, but no product owner experience. I also got my CSPO certification, and I'm reading up on all I can, but I know without experience, it may be difficult. Please advise. What are your thoughts on this, Jim?
Yeah, that's a great question. Linda, you're doing all the right things. You're taking the courses, you're getting the certification, you're learning the language. And I think that's really important. And then in terms of experience, getting a job in product management from talking with other people, it sometimes is hard if you don't have product management experience. Now, Linda was saying that she has project management experience, and there definitely are parallels to that. I would add in, if you can get additional experience with thinking strategically, if you can get additional experience with making decisions, if you can get additional experience with running a project from beginning to end where you have a deliverable, I think that's really important experience that might give you a leg up on other candidates for getting into product management. I think that if any experience you can have in engaging with customers is really good experience. So whether that's in a job in customer success or in business development, something like that. Those roles really lend themselves well to a later job in product management. So it's being able to communicate effectively with customers, being able to make tough decisions, being able to say no, and then be able
with compassion.
exactly. No, with empathy.
With empathy.
It's really important. But those skills really lend themselves to product management. So you can demonstrate those skills even in a different role. Then I think you're setting yourself up well. And then Linda was taking those additional certifications. I think that's really important.
I love that, man. Great advice, Jim. So I want to show love to Jerry. Jerry's like, look, my question about prototyping and building an MVP. When trying to move fast and validate quickly, I run into roadblocks where what I want to test is the UI setup, which makes it feel as if I need to just build it out before I can get accurate test results. What are your go-to methods for building lightning fast?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. And I think the word that you use here, Jerry, fast, is really important because you could spend a lot of time crafting the most high definition prototype, right? And you can spend hours agonizing over what is the name of this button? And is the is the button on the left side or is the button on the right side? And I would say that in the scheme of things, that's not important. Not to say that there isn't later some importance to that, but what you're doing at the earliest stages of trying to define and build your MVP is figure out, am I even in the ballpark? And is this something that passes the smell test with my customers? Are customers nodding their head saying, yeah, that solves my problem? And they might give you some feedback. They may say, and this is what happened with ProductPlan. We did our earliest prototyping using Keynote. So,
wow.
So we could have spent hours working in, and later we did, working in InVision and we used Semick for a little bit and these prototyping tools. But the most important thing was just to get something in front of customers so they can kind of wrap their head around what we were doing, so that we could talk, when we talked about a beautiful visual product roadmap, what would that look like? Like, what are we talking about? When we talk about a prioritization framework, what does that look like? And we did those earliest prototypes using Keynote, and then we got feedback. And every couple of interviews, every 2 or 3 interviews, we would go back to Keynote and we would revise it. And then until the point that we knew that we were close on our MVP. So those earliest interviews, we learned, for example, that people will still, even though this is web-based, will still want to print out their roadmap. We thought,
wow.
We thought, wait a minute, what world are we living in where people want to print this thing out?
Is it because they want to visually be able to see it and like track through it?
Yeah, it was because it wasn't them. They weren't printing it for themselves. They needed to print it out for their executives. And the executives expected a piece of paper, right? So we had to keep that in mind. We didn't realize that until we had done a bunch of interviews and had put this not a really good looking prototype in front of them. And if we had spent days or a month working on this high definition prototype, we would have missed that. So what we did instead was we did something really rough in the beginning. We got in the ballpark, and then we hired a designer. We hired somebody who knew UX, and then they worked and came up with high definition prototypes. And that's when we started saying, okay, what do we call this button over here? And that's when we start to do the work to make it great. Because you do want to have, for your MVP does not mean just putting together something that's super minimum. MVP means putting something together that's valuable in front of customers. So you have to have the minimum features that they need, plus something that's special. You need something that excites them. And the MVP needs to have that as part of the component. And so that's what we did, is we got to, through our high definition prototype, something that was exciting.
Powerful. So Linda is saying, thank you so much, man. You are helping her create clarity on where she needs to go in her career, man. You're awesome. One of the things you and I are a big fan of is the philosophy around essentialism. And you guys, Jim, you even shared earlier, like you and your co-founder, you all were really intentional and principled in what's essential in our culture. Why do you think that practice of essentialism is so important, man, when it comes to leaders practicing it in culture and also in just like life?
Yeah. And I also think this has applicability in product management, especially in startups. So for those that don't know, essentialism is this concept of doing less, but doing it better. It's the idea of thinking about what is most important to you or your business, and then paring down what you do and what you say yes to, down substantially, so that you're focusing only on one or two key things. And if you're not doing that, you're likely to be scattering your energy in a lot of different directions. You'll have shiny object syndrome. You'll be moving from different things to different things and really not making a whole lot of progress. And so by defining what your values are and then focusing on a few key things, you can get further faster.
It's true.
Cool. Thanks.
It's true, man. It's true. I want to ask, so with you, when did you kind of like figure out this philosophy, man, of around essentialism? Was it early in your career or around the time you all started ProductPlan?
No. For me, essentialism was something that the concept itself I discovered only a couple of years ago.
Wow.
It came about because I was trying to juggle too many things. I was trying to juggle the business, kids, social life, travel, and all of these different things. And I would find myself being overwhelmed. I would find myself feeling like I'm not able to get everything done. Things were falling through the cracks. I was just juggling too many balls and feeling overwhelmed. And so I was looking for ways of trying to do it all. I was looking, and I've always practiced productivity hacks and things like that to get more done in a day. But then I discovered this idea of essentialism, which is not about getting more done. It's about getting almost less done, but you do them well. And that was a complete twist. And since then I've been saying no a lot. I've been looking a lot at what I do in my day and saying, is this really important? How does this lunch that I'm going to have help me further my objectives? So you can start to look at it with that light. So it's a relatively new concept for me, and one that I've been giving talks on now for product managers. And I think essentialism and product management fit really well together.
Very.
Yeah, which is, you can't be all things to all people. You can't say yes to every person that comes to you and says, I want this feature. Whether it's customers or even your CEO, you can't say yes to everything. You have to wind up saying no to probably about 90% of things.
And it pays when your CEO is an essentialist too. Right? They get it, right? It's like it's not like, oh, they're like focused as well. They're just as disciplined as your chief product officer.
Yes, they need to be. They need to be focused on a few things if you're going to make substantial progress. And this is something that I've been trying to make progress on in my personal life, in my business life, and it's really powerful.
Yeah, I love it. So Mobilogy is saying, at the end of the day, most important is delivering valuable product to the customers. Preach, man. Jim, do you agree with that?
Absolutely. is what it's all about.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. You could be sitting around your room with your co-founder or your CEO or your CTO and be having these great ideas, right? And at the end of the day, they may not matter. At the end of the day, you may be wrong. And so you have to be able to figure out a way to validate that and vet that with your customers to see if it's delivering value. And value can be measured in so many different ways. It doesn't always have to be a monetary return for the customer. It could be maybe you're saving them time. Maybe you're helping them make better decisions. Maybe you're helping them look good. So our product, because we create beautiful product roadmaps, we help the product manager look good in front of their boss. And that's an important element. That's creating value. It's hard to measure that, but it's value nevertheless. And so I would encourage people that are considering starting a product or working on a product to figure out what is the customer value. And a really great resource for that is a book called Business Model Generation. And I'm not sure if you're familiar with it.
BMG, Business Model Generation, y'all.
Yeah. And includes Business Model Canvas, which is a way of thinking about the 9 different elements of a business model. Business model is a whole lot more than your product, but it also one of those elements is something called the value proposition, and that's really what you're after. You're after, at the end of the day, what does your product do for someone? And what it does is it solves a problem. So you need to spend a lot of time thinking about what is the problem that I'm solving, and is that problem important enough for people to pay me? And so I think that's a really important concept. And to answer the question, customer value, yes, that's what it's all about.
Love it. So Jim, man, where can people find out more about ProductPlan and follow your work?
Yeah, absolutely. So they can go to productplan.com. We have a free 15-day trial, and they can sign up. They can sign up for a trial and use the product. So we have product managers at thousands of companies all over the world using our product. We have a blog at productplan.com/blog, and we publish a lot of great content for product managers. We talk about how to launch products, how to think about products, how to communicate with stakeholders, and we also have several different products for both aspiring and seasoned product managers, including a book on roadmaps. We're just releasing a product management toolkit. So they can get that to understand how to interview customers, and also we have another asset coming out about what are all the different products available to product managers out there. So a lot of great content out there that you can get at productplan.com, and of course, people are free to connect with me on LinkedIn, and you just find me at Jim Semick.
Dude, this is amazing. And I'm currently looking at their website. ProductPlan is an amazing company, amazing product. So make sure you check out ProductPlan. So check them out, especially if you're a product manager. Especially if you're a product manager, they truly empower their product managers and their product leaders. So with that said, Jim, thank you so much, man, for being on Unleashing the Future of Work, a Guide podcast. We need to have you back for a future episode, man.
Oh, I would love that. Thanks for having me.
No, this has definitely been one of our favorite episodes thus far. And thank you so much to the people who are tuning in and viewing in the Guide community. If you're interested in learning more about ProductPlan, working with ProductPlan, maybe being one of their product managers, customer success team managers, or just being a fan, right? Definitely check them out on ProductPlan or reach out to Jim. He's super accessible on LinkedIn, and he's an honest, great guy. With that said, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Jim, thank you so much for being on another live episode,
Thank
man.
you. Yeah, it was great.
All right, man. Talk to you soon. With that said, you all, if you are interested in being a early beta tester for Guide, we're launching in about a week or so. So check out guideapp.co if you're interested in being a part of our beta program. We will be launching with a few people, a few amazing creators on our amazing platform. Guideapp.co is where you can go if you are interested in being an early beta tester of the Guide app. In addition to that, if you want to be on a future episode of the Unleashing the Future of Work, a Guide podcast, please reach out to me. I'm super accessible on LinkedIn. Follow us on Guide, our LinkedIn page. Comment, let me know. And I'm more than happy to have you on as a guest and to kind of uplift you and, and have you be a part of our amazing creator community. So let us know if you're interested. We would love to have you on the show. With that said, thank you all so much for tuning in. Please share this if you love this live episode with Jim. We're definitely going to be back next week, Monday, with another awesome guest and another awesome episode. All right, y'all, be well. And wherever you're tuning in from, please take care of yourself, build something awesome, and make sure that you're mindful and focusing on the things that matter. All right, y'all. Peace.